Hanging on to finance can be at great cost. If you think of the legal situations people get into where they must keep something and hang on to it, and you can spend a fortune, more than you've got, on protecting some property right or something similar. The mistake is to have thought that happiness and the perfection of living depends on ownership and wealth. It doesn't, of course. It depends on relationships, and relationships are by no means totally dependent on the advantages that wealth gives as regards helping others. Besides, such wealth can be frittered away by fighting over some particular right to property and control. I was in particular thinking of something like Kriya Yoga, which originally by Lahiri Mahasaya was given to anyone. With the qualification that they were in earnest, of course, but simply that. It didn't require that they commit themselves to lifelong discipleship of the person giving it. In other words, it wasn't at the cost of an imposed relationship. Equally, the right to publish a particular person's works does give great financial advantage and does help to build your particular centre of distribution of such literature, say. But at great cost. You need, finance and organisation to defend your position, and you'll be preoccupied in the maintenance, the sheer survival of such entity, corporate body or partnership or patent rights. In other words, you'll be preoccupied with massive byroads that absorb your time and resources and strip you of your peace of mind, happiness and fulfillment, and the very value that you seek to protect. The superior way seems to be that you give freely. People choose to copy at no reward to you. That's fine, and you trust that it will be a blessing to them. And I suppose you could say, well, I try to keep it free to everybody. But that has a dark side to it, which means you are the one that controls. You become the decision maker. And if you're not careful, again, you drop into some worldly struggle instead of a reliance, a trusting on God, and quite simply a free and generous spirit. If you think of it, God puts no obvious legal type constraint upon us, despite all that he gives, and he does give it. You don't get a bill at the end of the month that has to be paid. That's what love is. It's the generosity of giving. Sure, you can only give from what you have, and God has much, but we have a little. And we give because we're children of God. If He gives, we give. How else could we be happy but to be like Him in that way? Thank you, Heavenly Dad. I think I should say that of relationships, the obvious, it's your relationship with God that is quite simply everything. Of course, I am assuming a loving and all-powerful God, in particular one that loves and cares for you. But that being right, well, everything else then has its place, doesn't it? You could say, yes, but this is a Herculean task to assume that He is all-powerful and indeed loves me. And the answer is, yes, you're right. But it seems quite simple when you consider that the alternative things to trust bring nothing but concern. Whereas to trust that God is all-powerful and loves you gives you a peace of mind and a calmness, a happiness and a joy. Choose you this day which you will serve. Which do you choose to trust and believe in? An all-powerful God that loves you, or something much inferior? It's not rocket science. I think you choose to trust in an all-powerful God that loves you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, of course, this is the Jesus story, isn't it? That He is God. With man can't do it, but with God nothing is impossible. And He loves us. In fact, we're His children. And we have an idea of what a perfect relationship between a perfect Father and ourselves might be. How lovely. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. You see, we tend to think that I must control in order to get my view of what is best. But if you're trusting in an all-powerful God that loves you, it's His control, not yours. What you tend to do is you tend to wrest back that power and right the moment you think God is choosing something that you don't want, that you don't like. Perhaps you're losing control of some of your family. It might be that your partner's left and taken children. I could take her to court to make sure I don't lose the child. Yes, that's true, you could, and the world would, but you wouldn't. That's not your way. This sounds bizarre, doesn't it? But you see, your way is to trust God. Treat your ex in the way that's appropriate, helpful where you can be, not deliberately making yourself vulnerable, of course. There are some things you can do with a friend that you can't do with an enemy. If she is an enemy, he or she. You don't have to hang on to your kids. You really don't. It's God that's loving them and looking after them and perhaps indeed taking them through what you see as a very rocky road life. But he's doing it for a reason you can trust. Of course, you'll be there in as far as you can, and you'll keep tabs. In as far as that God gives you such opportunity. But you're not going to fret and stress and strive and wrestle with the world in order to keep your rights. I don't have rights any longer. I don't need them. All I need is the love of God, and I have it. A God that's all powerful and all loving, especially to me. To us, you see, to yourself, of course. That's what you value. So you live in a peace of mind, an equanimity in all circumstances. You are indeed able, with Merlin Carruthers' Prison to Praise, the book, Prison to Praise, you are able to praise him and thank him. You've chosen to. This is the way, walk ye in it. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.